If you want to play your best tennis, then training effectively is essential. That's why in this special lesson, I'm going to be breaking down a training session between Karue from My Tennis HQ and one of the best players in the world, Namoi Osaka. I'm going to tell you exactly what you should be copying and not copying so that you can play better tennis. Let's dive right into it.
All right, so starting practice, obviously with mini tennis, we like doing it. Again, I've said it before, some people don't for some reason. But I always think it's important. I think it's a good way to try to, just brush the ball really well, feel the ball from the beginning. Something, we typically do in practice, not just me and Naomi, just me in general, is in mini tennis, you try to hit, as fast as you can, but it still goes in the box. You know what I mean? Not just kind of like tapping the ball there, but, really brushing and accelerating. It's just a great way to feel topspin. I think a lot of people struggle with creating topspin, especially when they're beginners. I mean, that's kind of the first thing you want to learn as a beginner is to hit tops with topspin, and mini tennis is just a good way to do it.
So first of all, thanks to Karue. If you're not familiar with him, I'm going to link to this full video down below so you can go check it out. It's super insightful. I just want to say thank you to him for uploading it, and also to Namoi Osaka for being cool with him shooting it and uploading it. It's really, really cool stuff that you really can't find anywhere else on the internet right now. He was a D1 tennis player, a professional tennis player, and now he travels with her and he's her hitting partner. And right off the bat here, I think it's hilarious that he says, obviously, we start with mini tennis. And it's not an obvious thing for so many players watching this video. In fact, when you saw mini tennis pop up initially, you may have been really, really surprised. Tell me in the comments down below if that's the case. Because club players, average tennis players, tend to kind of avoid it like the plague because they're not comfortable with it. Karue mentioned how it's super, super valuable to learn how to hit topspin. And that's why so many average tennis players are uncomfortable with it, myself included. I can totally do this on my forehand side. My backhand side, if you've been following me, I've been working on learning how to hit better topspin on my backhand side, and I still struggle with it in mini tennis. So it's a great developmental tool. One thing I would say is be careful of Karue's advice to work on doing it as fast as possible. If you struggle hitting topspin in general right now, then this isn't the way I would train it. You need to take things a step back, not in a rally environment, and just learn how to do the motion very slowly and in an isolated way first. But otherwise, in general, love mini tennis. It's a great way to start any training session.
Now we switch to hitting just slices, which is also something that it's good for players to try, just because you work a little bit on your hands and feel. Again, keeping the ball inside the box, but also going, decently big, not just tapping the ball there. Like, again, as fast as you can. Let's hit on this one, you want to keep it lower to the net. It's just a good way to train your feel.
This, again, might be surprising to a lot of you. Namoi Osaka, one of the most successful tennis players in the world over the last 12 or 18 months or so. And she's warming up from the service line with backspin, just slicing back and forth with her practice partner. Super important, even though she's not like a touch player or a finesse player. She's very much like a offensive power baseline type of player, but she's still finding it valuable to just kind of hit some soft, relaxed, subtle shots back and forth. And this is just something that I think all of you watching can really take a page from this playbook and help develop your feel, help develop your finesse and your touch and your ability to just relax and place the ball back. So many players struggle at the net with their volleys, and it's because they don't have the ability to just relax, open the racket face, and just gently slice the ball back. So love this. It's a great progression, and they're just continuing to just kind of warm their bodies up, warm their hands up and their eyes up. It's a really fantastic way to do that.
Okay, now after we've done that for a while with the slices, we played just a little game to 5, where we use both boxes, and we can only slice, but we cannot hit winners. So winners don't count. You have to force the error on the other person. Obviously, it's a really tough thing to do because you can't really hit winners. You're not hitting over the ball. You're just hitting slices, and you just have to move the ball around. It's a great way to, try to understand the court a little bit better. Try to inflict pain without hitting a winner. I think a lot of players, just think that the only way to win points is hitting winners, when it's not. You can force errors with just placement on the court, hitting the right shots, finding depth, finding angles. And here, even just being mini tennis, just being like inside the box, you can still try to figure out a way to hurt the other person to a certain extent just by slicing.
So as I watch these points back and forth, there's 3 different P words that came to mind for me. One was patience. I just think it's really genius that, I don't know who came up with the drill, if it was Karue or the coach, but the whole idea that you can't win the point with a winner. They have to be able to get to it. That means they have to be able to touch the ball. You can't just hit an outright winner. That helps develop and cultivate patience. And then pattern is the second P. I've played games like this before, not with the winner rule, but just using the short court. And it's a great training aid in terms of strategy and pattern and shot selection. When you do these kind of soft short court points, you realize really quickly when you make a dumb decision, because the ball gets to your opponent really quickly and it really exposes you. And then the third one is pressure. By keeping track of score, they're adding a pressure element, which is a theme that you'll see come up later in the training session as well, which most tennis players don't add to their practice sessions. Their practice sessions are just for like banging balls and just hitting as many shots as possible and feeling good and confident and solid. And they usually don't add in uncertainty or discomfort or pressure. So the fact that Naomi and Karue are adding pressure in just during like the short court warm-up is fantastic and something you should be doing at home too. If you're looking for more ideas to upgrade your tennis game on the practice court, go get a free account at EssentialTennisAcademy.com, where we have a drills library for singles players and doubles players full of ideas that you can do in terms of rally drills, competitive drills, feeding drills. No matter what part of your game you want to improve, you can do it at EssentialTennisAcademy.com.
Okay, so after that little game to warm up in mini tennis, we're on the baseline now. Just hitting through the middle. How we always start. Just really feeling the ball, trying to find depth. See, I'm a little bit further back on the court just so I can get a lot of extension first. I don't want to hog the baseline too much early, just so I can really have my time to extend my shots, feel the ball well. I am playing with someone who hits with a lot of pace, so you need to start a little further back, just get that feel of the ball early.
Okay, thinks this is far
This
back.
will be uncut. There's going to be mistakes. It's not all perfect. I know, a lot of times we post things that on Instagram, like the best rallies and stuff, but we make mistakes more often than not. The point isn't to just not miss. The point is to hit quality balls all the time. Any pro, no matter what level, anyone that is in a high-level tennis player, they can make 100,000 balls if they want to, just push the ball in. But the point isn't to just make a lot of balls, it's to make a lot of balls with quality.
So we're just at the point in the training where they're just hitting ground strokes down the middle. But I feel like Karue just dropped like some major knowledge bombs here that I'm really excited to unpack. First of all, their emphasis here as they're hitting back and forth. He mentioned several technical things. He talked about putting a big emphasis on depth of shot. He talked about length of swing and really extending through his shots. He also talked about giving himself a little bit more space because he knows Naomi's going to be aiming deep and right down the middle, so he doesn't want to be standing right on top of the baseline. And so all of these are different kind of qualifications of hitting a high quality shot. And so he begins by just explaining, listen, we're trying to hit a good ball here. We're not just trying to get it in. And then he talks about that mindset of showing the errors, showing the mistakes. And I respect that so much. If you've been following me, then you know that I really appreciate that. I'm big when I post points or match play, showing everything, the double faults, the unforced errors, not just highlights. There's tons of highlights out there, and your average person who watches tennis videos kind of gets brainwashed into thinking that highlights is like what good tennis is, but it's not. This is one of the best tennis players in the world on the other side, drilling with Karue, and they're both making mistakes, and it's just part of practice. And so, Karue, I just want to say I really respect you a lot for posting the whole thing and not cutting out the mistakes, and also bringing us your insights as far as what you're focusing on and what Naomi is focusing on too.
Okay, so now after hitting through the middle for about 8-10 minutes, we're playing a little game where there's again no winners, just through the middle, and we're playing the 7. You miss, you lose a point, and if you hit the target, it's worth 3 points. So if you hit the cone, it's worth 3 points, and no winners. And so you just add a little bit of a point situation to something that you do all the time, right? You step on the court, you try to hit down the middle a million balls against your practice partner, your coach, or whoever, and there's usually not a lot of consequences in those, right? You just hit through the middle, you make the mistakes, it doesn't really matter too much. But when you make into a point situation, it adds a little bit of pressure. You can't just miss or just hit tee off every ball. You need to make the adjustments.
So notice how they've now taken something that's kind of mundane and everybody hits down the middle, just like a lot of people do short court, but not a lot of people add this layer of pressure. And he used the word consequences, which I think is fantastic. When you play a match, there's a negative outcome that you're trying to avoid. You don't want to be the loser. You don't want to be the person that loses to that player and walks back to your car with their head hanging low. But what a lot of players don't do is they don't add little sprinkles of those consequences into their training. And I think this is so smart. And so really what Karue has pointed out here are 3 kind of distinct layers. There's just hitting the ball in. That's level 1, and they only spent a couple minutes on that. That's where most tennis players hang out. It's just hitting the ball back in the court. Then he talked about hitting the ball in the court, but with really good quality was the word that he used. Good depth, good pace, good length, good extension, as close to the baseline as possible, adding quality and not just being satisfied with just getting it in. And now this 3rd layer is adding pressure. They want to hit quality shots under pressure. All of you watching can just hit shots. You can all just hit shots into the courts. Not everybody can hit quality shots consistently, and even fewer players can hit quality shots with consistency under pressure. And it's kind of subtle, and it seems almost too simple, but there's a lot of wisdom in how this training is being layered, and you should be taking away these lessons and using it yourself. If this has been helpful and kind of giving you some insight on how you can train better, do me a favor and click the like button down below. It really helps these videos out a lot. Thank you.
Oh, finally take the cake on that one. Long one. Long rally. Great rally, though, by both of us. Good intensity. You see, just adding that little competition to it, it makes it a little more exciting. And don't just go out and just hit balls. You always want to compete. Compete is fun. Competing is fun.
So you hear Karue talking about that, that layer of competition or pressure on top of just hitting. He's talking about how, don't just hit. Don't just hit the ball back and forth. Add some competition. That makes it fun. And he says competing is fun. And I just want to address this, maybe a little bit of an elephant in the room. And that elephant is the fact that a lot of amateur tennis players don't think competing is fun. It actually really intimidates them, and it makes them scared and uncomfortable. And I just want to encourage you, if you hear him say that and you're like, oh, no, it's not fun for me, this is how you can start to make it fun. It's like developing your muscles at the gym or your cardio at the gym. At first, just even a tiny bit is uncomfortable, but then you kind of get used to that. And then you add a little bit more weight and then a little bit more weight, and you build up that muscle. And learning how to be a great competitor is really similar. And doing drills like this is how you can add a little bit of weight to the bar and add a little bit more discomfort and keep getting better and better at it. And so the way that they're doing this is fantastic and something that you should be copying in your own training.
And the last thing we did in this practice session, we just did a game where I had to go cross twice and Naomi had to go cross once, and then the second ball, it was open. She could go down the line or cross court, but the point was open. So
the point pattern here is really simple. Karue receives a feed from the coach. He hits cross court. Naomi has to hit her first shot cross court. Karue hits one more shot cross court, and then Naomi can go anywhere on her second shot. So what they're doing here is they're grooving in and training a particular pattern. Sorry about that. Particular pattern of shots, while then again adding in that element of competition. They're keeping track of score. And if you watch the full video, which you absolutely should do, I'll link it down below. You'll see kind of how it plays out and how the momentum swings back and forth. It's awesome competition back and forth. So what they're doing here is training a response. When I receive this ball, I'm going to hit it back there. And when I receive this ball, I'm going to hit it someplace else. And so it's training Naomi's decision making and also grooving patterns back and forth. And if you watch the full video, Karue again kind of talks about the fact that we're not just hitting cross courts, like we're adding some other elements to it. We're adding some competitive spice to it. We're making it, that's tough, that's tough miss. We're making it a little bit more like real life. We're kind of bridging that gap between practice or training and match play and developing the ability to compete in these kind of scenarios. So in case you didn't get the idea yet, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, you should go watch this full video. First of all, it's really insightful. You should subscribe to Karue's channel because there's nobody else on the internet doing content like this, working with an elite world class, like one of the best tennis players in the world, and then sharing insights from that experience and from the rest of his playing experience as a high-level competitor as well. So Karue, from me to you, thank you so much for publishing this. It's going to help so many tennis players out there. If you're watching this right now and you found the breakdown helpful, do me a favor and click the like button. It really helps these videos a lot. And let me know what you thought down in the comments. Anything here surprise you, or was it pretty much what you expected? Curious to hear what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.